Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 332. It is the second day of the week, aka the Special Beam Cannon workout. I am feeling pretty good, very excited for this workout. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So, the main reason why this is a brand new series. It's going to be looking at the four different things that are probably going to ruin society, and we are going to get into each and every individual one. But I think I'm going to take this time to discuss, just generally speaking, my thoughts and opinions, broadly strokes, about maybe why I have narrowed it down to these four, and also why they're probably going to ruin a lot of lives. So we're going to get down to it, and I'm going to probably do more episodes on certain parts of these subject matters, but I wanted to discuss it individually as well. So this will be the new series going on for every special beam cannon for a little while. So you'll see that every second day of the week, you'll see this, but for just a little bit, and then we're going to move on. But for now, I do have to say this. I have narrowed it down to four things that I've noticed being probably like the accelerators to the end times, really. And I think that a lot of people aren't necessarily wanting to see these four things as bad, because inherently they might have fooled themselves into thinking that they're good. And there are some elements to them that might be okay, maybe, but not really. But the entire idea comes from the idea that we will not really know when things go wrong until it's too late. You know, society will not realize, oh, we fucked up introducing this. So I'm going to go into the four ideals and how they're going to do it, and why do I believe it's these four, and all that other stuff. And we're going to go into each one individually as to why the ailments of society are probably based off of these things. And they aren't the only things, of course. I'm not going to say that they are the only ones, but I feel like enough people tick off one of the four of these boxes to the point where they're either in one of them, they're either in all four of them, in two of them, or three of them, maybe in at least one of them, somewhere, somehow, and it's very easy where all of them can consume you. It's not necessarily something like the seven the seven deadly sins, where you're committing an act upon yourself. This is more societal influences upon you, basically. And one kind of is similar, but it's a little different. So with that being said, though, I will see you at Mother Base. All right, so started this day off with squats, which were pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Part 1. Introduction. So the main reason why I wanted to start this series is because these four things have been on my mind for quite some time. I've probably talked about them for every once in a while when talking about random stuff on this channel, because that's what I do here. Out of these four, I've noticed are probably going to be the bringers of end times in one combination or another. So I thought I'd start by giving an overview of, first, what are the four and why do I believe they're like that, and how it's going to happen. And obviously, before I continue on and actually start naming these things, I don't think that these are the only things that are going to cause the end of the world, of course. They are not necessarily going to be the things, but I definitely do think that they are going to add the gasoline to the fire that is the end times, really, where we're just going to keep going into a more hedonistic and terrible world that is not going to have really a future, because we've ended up just destroying ourselves because of these things. So what are the four? The first one is drugs. Now, when I talk about drugs, I'm going to go into detail about it in a different episode. All of these are going to get their own episodes, but the drugs, I'm talking about most pharmaceuticals, as well as, you know, the big ones. So heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, weed,
ecstasy, all of that. And weed will get its own episode on its own day. But I think that that is part of the beginning of one of the things that's going to lead people down a road that's not necessarily good. And for those who would like to say, argue against me, I only need to point you to Kensington Street in Pennsylvania. So you can go visit there if you would like. Go at night. Tell me how that goes. But anyways, second one, gambling. Now, I've talked about gambling before, and I don't think that I really do need to go into it right here that much, but I do believe gambling has its multitude of issues to the point where it is now going to affect not only sports, which I'm a big fan of sports, but I think that it's going to affect other things as the gamification of basically everything is going to start becoming an issue with basically any type of business model, because I have a feeling that it's going to infect so many things to the point where it's going to be unable to be regulated, where everything is going to be something based off of gambling. Then the big one, the porn industry. Now, I do believe that the porn industry is something that is going to be massive. I cannot even begin to describe how much of an impact that it has, whether it be from the basement dwelling dude to the women who sell their soul for a bit of money to the people who are basically using this and get all of a sudden going to commit terrible acts afterwards, or the people that are watching it and doing unnecessarily bodily harm to themselves in order to get weird pleasures or whatever that else may go in there. There is a lot in this particular one. I'm not even going to scratch the surface here on that one. That's going to get its own series. And then the last one, which is a little bit more of a free conceptual one. It's not necessarily a one particular thing, although there is something that I could point to in order to just kind of focus it on that. And that is overconsumption. Now, the reason why I say overconsumption is because this applies to literally everything that I just talked about before, plus a bunch of other stuff. For example, like food and media and just generally anything that we can have access to 24/7 now, where we can overconsume it. And I think that that overconsumption of things is going to really lead us to a point where we are just nonstop consuming to our grave, basically, where we're not really going anywhere because there's always something jingling the keys in front of us, and that's just going to keep going on. And why do I believe it's these four things? Because I have a feeling that a combination of at least two or three of them could truly destroy a life relatively easily. And it's not even like it's a crazy thing to even think about when you people do all three plus within a single day. It's not like that is uncommon. Nowadays, it's more common than not. And it's surprising that a lot of people don't necessarily want to even put the markers that these things are bad in certain ways, that they'd rather just shoo them off with other coping mechanisms as saying that, oh, if they're not doing this, they're going to be doing that. Well, it's like they're jumping from one thing to the other thing, but they're all bad. So why would you even try to argue that? They all have their terrible natures to them. And I think that people want to at least cope with this weird world that we're living in via one of these things. And they aren't choosing to become a stronger person rather than just go down these rabbit holes that lead to basically either emptiness, degeneracy, or just death, really. And it is surprising to me that people will just continue to go down these rabbit holes, because as if we as a society have decided to not really actually discover anything to actually help us out, rather than just distract us and basically milk us for whatever we have, really, and then just get rid of us. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this has to do with money, a lot of this has to do with power, a lot of this has to do with us as commodities, really. And I think that a lot of people are too afraid. I would say a lot of people are generally not talking about these types of things being an issue because they want to keep it around. And I think that that's a mistake that we're going to look back upon and realize, hey, we should speak out about this type of stuff, because if we don't, then we not only do we suffer, but our future generations suffer, even if they exist, because it seems as though that's also an issue, but that's a whole other separate episode for a different day, because we might not even have a future with how things are going because of these things being so in the moment hedonistic ideals that the future is becoming bleaker and bleaker.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercise is not filmed, none. Exercise is skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. But anyways, to the main subject matter at hand here today. The four horsemen of the apocalypse, or four horsemen of the fall of Western civilization. Now, the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I wanted to introduce these topics, because I will probably look into these topics a little bit more in their own series. Is maybe, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There's one particular one. There is a lot to talk about in multiple facets that will probably be its own thing, but I wanted to cover all of these things because I feel like them combined will be the end of a lot of stuff that we hold near and dear to our hearts. And I understand the idea of, but Oscar, why would you say such a thing? And then I say this: the slippery slope is fucking real. Those who believe that it is not are asinine and naive to the realities of the world, one, and the nature of man. That includes women, so man in general. Two, this is something that has been on the mind for quite some time, and you can see that these things have just eroded certain parts of society, very much so, to the point where certain things aren't even working. We will talk a lot about certain aspects of one of these in particular, and a few others too, because you can see it every day in some way, shape, or fashion. Wait for the Dubai chocolate sexy Labubu sports betting. There you go. That's like almost half of them combined together. So it'll happen all at the same time. And three, I think that there's such a societal pressure on everything, including this fucking thing, in order to see at least one of these things, and you'll just get it constantly bombarded over and over and over again, where the only way to really get out of it is to just completely disconnect, which is just a tough fucking task, because it's, I would say, almost impossible now if you want to do anything else with money on the internet, unfortunately. So you're just kind of SOL. I mean, you can be disconnected from it, but then again, you're going to be living a rough life, to say the least. But it is an option. But we'll explore that in a different episode, in a different day. Maybe even a little bit of an experiment. Who knows? I might get a quiet phone. We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, or whatever, a dumb phone, whatever the hell they call it. Because there is an actual, like, the not smartphone now. But anyways, with that being said, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This is just a broad strokes general viewpoint of how I feel about these four individual things so far, as in how and why they would combine together in order to create such terrible, terrible states of living that we will probably be living through for quite some time. Hopefully, we should be able to make it better, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. But with that being said, tell me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there. Stay cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.